Well, hello everybody. This is Alvaro Cortez Jr., aka Lance Danger, welcoming you to another witching hour live stream, or should I say art stream. Sorry that I kept you guys waiting a little longer than usual. I decided to go a little bit fancy tonight and use StreamYard instead of Restream, which is what I usually use to be streaming. And also, if you notice that I don't have the camera on, I do have a another sinus infection, so I want to spare all of you all the icky stuff on my face for now. At least ickier than usual, anyway. In any case, welcome back to another late night live stream. It's been a little while since my last one, probably like over a week or something like that, maybe 2 weeks, week and a half. It's been very busy here with real life stuff. So, aside from working behind the scenes on the comics and whatnot, and I decided to just do a quick live stream to show you guys the progress on the Truthful Comics edition of Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord, of course. And also, I gave the title to this live stream Practice Makes Purpose. And I will talk about that as the stream goes on, and the stream shall go on. Let me just go ahead and start sharing the screen for Clip Studio, of course. Here we go. Let me actually make that bigger there. As you can see, this is actually page one of the prologue to Fred Peterson, The Mighty Warlord, Book One. I have mentioned it before, I believe, in other live streams, that I decided to go kind of full manga for Fred Peterson, The Mighty Warlord, even though I have to kind of think about it now because I've been having a little bit of problems with my printer, which is Kablam. Let me go ahead and put some background music here. Put some of that lo-fi. There we go. Much better. Putting some of that lo-fi music. So yeah, I've been having some problems with Kablam publishing. It's just been so inconsistent, at least in my case anyway. I know it's been the case for other creators as well, and it's starting to get pretty frustrating at this rate. I try to understand that apparently they have unprecedented levels of people creating comics, and that's a quote unquote good problem to have more people going out there and creating their thing and putting themselves out there. But at the same time, the service has been very lacking on Kablam, at least in my opinion, and I hate to put them on blast, but it's been half a year now since Manuel Carmona and I have been waiting for our stuff to be published on Indie Planet, and it also took forever to get our books as well that we ordered. When we know that other people, other creators that ordered their stuff way after us got their things put up on the site and got their products before we did as well. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I don't know if I mentioned it, but the Cannon Girl, after months and months, pretty much 6 months waiting for the Cannon Girl to be put on Indie Planet. Just last week, I go into my account in Kablam and I see that the Cannon Girl was actually returned to my dashboard, meaning that it was not going to be put up on Kablam. without any real reason. And I reached out to Kablam, and what I got was a copy paste of a big kind of announcement they had made a while back on Facebook, which really didn't answer my question. So that really left me disappointed. So I don't know what I'm going to do at this rate with the publication of it. Digitally, I'm definitely going to start moving stuff over to Kindle and see what other interface I can use to at least sell the comics digitally, so you guys are able to, get them comics. Because that's the whole purpose, to be able to provide this entertainment, these products to you. And it's really out of our hands what's happening with Kablam right now. And it's a shame, because I've been dealing with Kablam since 2010, when I decided that I wanted to do a more polished print of Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord, other than the, do-it-yourself zines that I have been doing up until that point with Warlord and Nevermind. That was the plan, have the physical copies done, make it look professionally done, and, take advantage of the Indie Planet store, which had been working swimmingly well for me until this year. And again, I try to understand, I try to be understanding, but it feels like they're not being very understanding of the plea of some creators, because again, and this is all just hearsay, really. I don't know for sure, except for the experiences with some creators, that some creators are definitely getting a much better treatment than other creators. But that's neither here nor there right now. The thing is that there are people that has been waiting for Project New Wave issue number 3 and the Cannon Girl Truthful Comics edition number 1, and we just haven't been able to deliver. And again, it's not really because it's not really through any fault of ours. So now we're kind of in the situation where we have to decide where to go to from here. Should we stay or go? Should I stay or should I go? Kablam is messing up again. My comics aren't being printed. So should I stay or should I go? A little late night melody for all of you guys out there. I call that the webcomic creator's lament. Like right now, what I'm thinking about also is pretty much just go fuck it and do it myself. Like try to get a printer like the one that I used to have before we moved for the second time. Like I used to have a printer that we actually got for free from Craigslist. And it was the printers similar to the ones at SVA, the School of Visual Arts, where it could fit the long paper for you to actually print out your old comic, and the scanning bed was actually big enough to scan entire comic book boards as well, which was extremely convenient. And even though the printer itself wasn't really functioning well, like, I couldn't ask for more because really it was free. It was off of Craigslist. But that scanner was awesome because I could just scan full art boards without having to scan them into halves and then put them together in Photoshop and whatnot, because that was relatively time consuming, especially when you're working and being a student as well at that time. But when we moved from one point of Brooklyn to another point of Brooklyn at that time, the movers actually damaged that printer and the scanner stopped working. I don't know if I've told this story before on live stream, but the movers that we had used at that time tried to stiff us. Like, I was at SVA working actually, because at that time I was studying and I had 2 jobs aside from trying to do my comics and whatnot. And my girlfriend had that night off, so she was waiting for the movers to arrive. And once they arrived in their truck, they actually threatened her, saying that unless she paid more money, they were going to take everything back with them. So while they were like discussing amongst themselves, she actually called the police and she texted me that all this was happening. So I actually left work early once I saw that text, and essentially ran and made it as quickly as possible as I could get to Brooklyn from Manhattan, because that is a pretty major thing, you know. Like, all our stuff is there and they were threatening it to take it with them. So long story short, I made it there. I made it by the time the cops were starting to leave. And the cops pretty much told them that they had to take everything out and comply with the contract that they had signed of providing us their service, which they weren't very pleased with. So I was there kind of looking at them having to do their work. They took a few things up to our place at that time. It was on the 3rd floor. And I got distracted when I was kind of giving an update on how things were back at my job, to let them know that everything's okay. Well, I was on the phone. What those movers actually did was that they took everything out of the truck and left it in the lobby and left. So they didn't even like fulfill their obligation. Like, I had to pretty much finish taking everything upstairs myself. Luckily, all the heavier things was already taken upstairs at that point, and put into the apartment, but I had to do everything else myself. Craigslist, man, it'll break your heart. And of course, that printer was one of the first things they took upstairs. And I actually even heard it like when they were putting it inside the apartment. I heard when it actually hit the corner of a wall. And it got hit pretty hard. So of course the next day when I was going to test out that everything was fine, of course it stopped working. So what I've been thinking about is trying to see if I can get my hands on one of those printers again, but brand new, or at least if it's used or something, see if it's like working properly. And just do my own comics, you know. It's not like I don't know how to actually make a professional looking comic book myself, because I actually have done it as projects at the School of Visual Arts. Like they showed me in the class everything from setting up the printer, from the correct files to use and how to print it out, and then how to staple and trim the paper and whatnot. So I have actually made do-it-yourself comics in that form, and they look pretty damn close to like even mainstream comic books. Plus, I also have the advantage that I took an actual bookmaking class as well, meaning that it was a class that literally taught you how to make a book from scratch. I have videos on TikTok and I believe here on YouTube as well, showing those small books that I made. And they're hardcover books too. So I know how to actually make hardcover books and whatnot. Like literally from scratch with the proper materials and all that jazz. Because really with all the money that's being expended and all the money that Kablam quite frankly keeps, it makes more sense and from an economic standpoint to just do it yourself. Because I mean like for example, even for just selling the digital comic, before they would only charge like 25 cents or something like that when you would sell your digital comic on Indie Planet. Now it's not even like 25 cents or anything like that. Now they actually charge you half of the price point that you put for your digital comic on Kablam, which is kind of ridiculous to an extent. Like that's a pretty big jump. And I know, you know, servers can be a pain in the ass and costly and whatnot. But that was something that I didn't see any announcement for that, and if there was, I missed it. That they were going to start charging half of what you charge on Indie Planet for digital copies. You know, it's like they make enough. They take a big chunk out of printing as it is, like to go ahead and also charge half of the price point of what you're selling your digital comic as well. Like, I do consider that to be pretty crazy. Rant notwithstanding, if I do decide to like stay on with Kablam or something, I think I'll likely just pay like that little bit extra to not have their ads in the comic. Like, I've always had like their big Kablam as the back cover of the comic and whatnot to get like that small discount at the end and whatnot. You know, just kind of like use them and not promote them ever at all. Or if anyone that watches this either live or on the replay or whatnot, if you guys have any suggestions of where to get your comic book printed, I'm open to suggestions. If you guys hear a sudden meow that you don't recognize, we actually adopted a new cat, and his name is Hunter. And I think he actually might be a bit hungry. That's kind of like his hungry meow. Give me one brief second and I'll be right back. Hey everyone, thank you all so much for bearing with me. I suspected that was the hungry meow. Um, as I was saying, his name is Hunter. He is the newest denizen of the danger zone. He is approximately 1 year old and he is a tiger buff cat. If you hear like small sneezes too, when I adopted him, he actually already had the beginnings of an upper respiratory infection, so we're taking care of that as well. He is the most cuddly cat I have ever met. Like, he gets so excited to be pet and cuddled that he'll make biscuits in the air. And for some reason, he really prefers to eat when I'm next to him. Like, he's very trusting. He's a very trusting cat. The cat that most of you know, Puchito, our oldest cat, it's fair to say that they're social distancing from each other. We introduced them slowly, and even though Hunter is a very curious cat and he kind of wants to be friends with him, Puchito has been getting kind of jealous of him and getting kind of sad whenever he's around. So that's the story with that, pretty much. I got him at an adoption event last week in Manhattan from an adoption truck. I think pretty much every animal that was on that truck got adopted that day, which is a good thing. Like, there were other cats, kittens, dogs, puppies. Okay, I think that's good for this page. Once again, this is page 1 of the prologue, and once again, to finish my train of thought, like, if I do decide to stay with Kablam, I'll likely just pay that extra money to not even have them advertised in the comic at this rate. I don't care anymore. Like, I used to have like quite a bit of loyalty to them, but I just feel that they've dropped the ball so badly, especially with their older customers. That's really a shame. Okay, that is looking a whole lot better now compared to how it was before. So I'm just kind of going back and reworking on the first couple of pages that I had done. Of course, since I'm going to do it manga style, the first couple of pages are going to be in color because I already had colored them, but they will be turned into grayscale when I have them printed, whether that be whatever printing place I may go to. So that's essentially page 1 there. Fred, of course, looking at the beach, contemplative, as always, of course. Just kind of want to there we go, that's a lot better. It's not too overpowering the zipatone, of course. Let me just go ahead and save. That'll do it for that page. And if I suddenly sound like near and far is because I like to roll back on the seat a little bit to kind of create that even more distance to kind of like take in the overall illustration and see if there's anything else I can tweak here or there. So if I'm going to like be tweaking more and more, I'm never going to end. What I'm doing now is essentially just adding some detail to make certain things pop out a little bit more and add a little bit more depth to the page, so that when it does go into grayscale, things are pretty distinguishable and look, like they're in an environment. So that's going to do it for page 1. Let me go ahead and bring up page 2. Page 2 is really one of my favorite pages ever. Of course, our introduction to Jane Jackson. I'm just kind of looking to see if there is like any more detail that I could provide into the page, which I guess I can actually. Let's see. Like, this one actually does have dialogue, so let me just kind of turn off some of those things. And kind of turn off the color and whatnot and just leave it on the am I missing where's that? Oh, there it is. There you go. So I'm just going to add some more tones to this page. Once again, just to add more depth to the whole thing. Oops. Like, both cats are actually here with me now. Puchito, the eldest cat, of course, he is on the sofa, while Hunter is sitting right next to me on the floor next to the chair, just kind of observing me on the area. This is really the first time that he's actually seen me do a late night live stream, and he just jumped into the top part of the sofa right now. He's a very athletic cat. That looks about right. You go ahead and start fixing this here. So anyway, what does any of this have to do with practice and purpose? Well, that is a very good question. To ask almost a little over 40 minutes into the live stream. Well, I will tell you what it has to do with what I was talking about before. Absolutely nothing. But it is a nice little segue into why I titled this live stream Practice with Makes Purpose. Okay, both cats are just chilling now on different extremes of the sofa. So anyway, if you follow my YouTube, and sometimes I upload them onto Facebook also. I do TikToks where I show like the whole video process of doing art practices on Procreate, which is very fun to me, to be honest. I'll like put them up on TikTok, and I repurpose those TikToks into YouTube shorts. And it's actually quite fun to do. And quite a good thing to do too, because I've actually grown my channel quite a bit thanks to that, thanks to those YouTube shorts. And I'm essentially just, practicing, getting the lay of the land, learning the lay of the land of Procreate and whatnot. And besides, it's just good practice overall to be able to, sketch every day. Whether it be a notebook, whether it be a Chromebook or a Surface Pro or whatever, or an iPad, or even your Android phone or iPhone. Sketching at least once a day does give you a unique advantage over people that don't sketch at all or don't illustrate every day. And that's where I came up with the philosophy of practice makes purpose. Not practice makes perfect. Or even perfect practice makes perfect. Because if there's anything that I have learned based on my own experiences and what I've learned at Kingsborough Community College, getting my associate's degree in fine arts, and then of course doing cartooning at School of Visual Arts, is to make content with purpose. Which is something that I've kind of wanted to do with comics overall and storytelling overall. But in school, I learned how to do art with purpose as well. To make decisions based on, will this serve the story better as such? What purpose will an extra panel make, or one less panel will make, or one line of line art, or one less? how will that impact the storytelling of the artwork overall? In SVA especially, I learned that every line, or at least most of the lines, must serve a purpose to further the story you're trying to tell, or the story that the writer is trying to tell, if it's the case that you're illustrating for someone else. That's not just to do something to try and make it look cool. You can make something look cool, but also make it serve to be part of the story, serve a purpose. And doing those practices on Procreate has really helped me a lot in making those kinds of decisions with my artwork and such. But, and there is always a but. There's always going to be people that'll kind of want to try to bring down what you want to try and do. You can do a simple head sketch just to keep in the habit of sketching and illustrating, and just overall trying to become a better artist. And people will, well, not people, but there will be sometimes that one person that will question you and be like, well, what purpose does it serve to do a head sketch? Is that going to make your comic look any better? What purpose does that serve? Because in their opinion, just simply practice sketching isn't going to do anything for your comic book. And in my humble opinion, that is bullshit. At least in my opinion and in my experience anyway. Because here's the thing about, at least in my case, practicing the way I do and warming up the way I do. Art really isn't like my talent, or at least not like my natural born talent, if you want to call it that. In the same way that, say, writing is my talent. And this is something that I've always said. I'm not putting myself down, it's being realistic with my own shortcomings and my own strengths. I'm definitely a much stronger writer than I am an artist. And it's not putting myself down, it's quite the opposite. It's me calling myself out to improve as an artist, to keep striving to be better. And even though I consider myself a better writer than an artist, and there's a handful of colleagues that are in agreement with that assessment, I don't let that go to my head either, and I try to become a better writer and challenge myself every time I write as well. And when I do those practice sketches, not only am I keeping myself warm, I'm keeping myself hungry. And it does impact the actual work of the comic because, you know, doing a sketch a day will definitely reflect into your actual artwork as well because your hand is loose, your arm is loose, you're all kind of like in the motion, the muscle memory kicks in. And in my case, I just get into the zone and kind of like Bruce Lee would say, my hand won't be drawing. It draws all on its own. You know what I mean, baby? So does practicing head sketches or just practice sketches in general help you with your comics? In my opinion, hell fucking yeah, it does. And if you have a different opinion to that, well, that's just your opinion, man. You're definitely entitled to it. What you're not entitled to is demean someone else for working at their pace and working in a way that's more comfortable for them to work in. Because that's just not cool. It's in those moments where, if any advice that I could give would be kind of worry about your own goals and your own artistic sensibilities rather than tell somebody who's trying to improve what they should and shouldn't do. If it's not constructive criticism, you can keep that noise all to yourself. Because again, it's not, that you can't take criticism or anything like that. Like, of course, like I've said in other streams and other topics, you can definitely take, and especially in my case, I can definitely take criticism. But the caveat is, it has to be a constructive criticism. Just saying that something sucks for the sake of saying that it sucks, that's not going to fly with me. If you say this sucks because the perspective is off, or the anatomy needs more tweaking, or the composition is all whack, I can definitely take that, and I would actually appreciate that. But if you're going to come to me and say that something isn't good, well, I would at least hope that you would tell me what exactly isn't good. But if you're going to tell me practice sketches don't do squat for doing actual comic books, tell me why. Other than just saying, take your word for it. Because I will most definitely not take your word for it. Like, I've been around the block for too long, like, to just take anything at face value anymore. And that's not just in comics, that's just in life in general also. So if there's anything that anyone can kind of pick up from this that I'm talking about, if you're going through it yourselves, don't let anyone make you question your own strategy. Don't let anyone make you question your own way of doing things. Unless, of course, it's merited. Unless, of course, there is something to the criticism. Again, like I said, if the perspective is all skewered and they have pointers, or at the very least tell you, like, hey, you have to improve a little bit on this. Maybe you can do different angles. Maybe the page is a little too boring because it doesn't have enough angles and points of view. Again, like, that is definitely the kind of criticism that I personally would crave to have. And I have had in the past, and I try to work on it as best as possible within the time constraints of working on a webcomic and trying to redo a webcomic from scratch to have it published again. Like, I've heard practice makes perfect, and I've been told that not necessarily practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. In the sense of practicing artwork the right way, quote unquote, the right way. Because also, as they say, if you do it right the first time, then you won't have to spend too much time having to fix mistakes and whatnot. And you learn to be faster and all that good stuff. But even then, I say with that, take it with a grain of salt, because yes, doing a quote unquote perfect practice is a good way to grow as well. You know, it's another way of growing. But at the same time, in my opinion anyway, you kind of set expectations a little too high for yourself, and sometimes you'll just get caught in that trap of, you know, having to make everything look perfect rather than having, you know, things to be more completed and finished and whatnot. As they say, finished, not perfect. Which is kind of like the philosophy that I adopt myself personally. Again, just kind of working on this. So that's where I kind of came up with kind of like my own take on everything of practice makes purpose. You know, having elements in the artwork, whether it be a sketch or whether it be the comic book, to be artwork and storytelling with some kind of purpose behind it, some kind of reason behind it. Like, are you doing this because it furthers the story itself? Are you doing this composition because you want to evoke some kind of emotion? good stuff like that. And I may not be perfect and not have all the answers, but I do try my very best, and I try my hardest to do as well as I can within the circumstances. Let's kind of make this a little bigger to not, like, that's where work smarter, not harder also kicks in, which is something that I'll have to like keep reminding myself as well, especially with all the injuries and health issues I've had over the past year. Like, I'm actually doing this, and I'm probably not even supposed to be doing this because I'm actually going to a doctor's appointment this morning because I injured my elbow a couple of weeks ago, and after it was starting to get a little bit better, it suddenly started to really, really hurt again. So I'm going to have that checked out today. And of course, after that, I'm going to be doing a live stream in the afternoon with the live streams that I do every Wednesday with Chago Rodriguez about Puerto Rican comics, although it can also be taken as comics from Latin America in general, because a lot of Latin American countries are actually watching the live stream. Oddly enough, looking at the statistics, there's actually more Latin American countries watching those live streams than actual like Puerto Ricans watching the live stream, which is all good. I'm excited because the guest that we're going to have today is so good. It's such a great writer. It's such a cool person as well. So it's going to be definitely an interesting live stream today, this afternoon, around 5-ish o'clock. Just kind of making sure that, of course, I just go ahead and keep going at it. Practice makes purpose. It's almost kind of like my philosophy of Lance Dangerett. Of yes, get out there, don't overthink it, and just do it. And of course, if you are going to do it with purpose, with meaning. Again, to kind of quote Bruce Lee, with meaning. So if you feel like your artwork does improve and helps you keep yourself on your toes when you're working on your comics by doing little sketches beforehand and whatnot, or maybe that's just what you have the time to do that day, just a little sketch to kind of keep warm. In my opinion, just go for it. And the same thing if you're the type of person that doesn't need warming up and prefers to save all that energy for the actual illustration, whether it be a cover, a pinup, or a comic book. Hey, again, it's all about whatever makes you feel more comfortable in your routine of doing artwork. And again, you don't have to listen to me, because the same way that I say don't listen to naysayers, you don't have to listen to me either. At the end of the day, it's your own voice that you have to listen to, and that you have to let decide what's best for you. Because what's best for me doesn't mean that's the best for you as well. Be good. So if any of you ever wonder, like, if you're subscribed and you see like all those practice sketches, whether it be like head sketches of superheroes and whatnot, or just random sketches of my own characters, it's not just to provide content, even though it's a great way to provide content to the channel and to other social media platforms to help it grow as well. But it's also me at my most honest, trying to become a better artist too. Nothing wrong in wanting to become the best artist that you can be. And if that makes another colleague feel bad or something, that talks more about them than it does about you. Like, I think I've told this story before. Back in high school, like, I wasn't that much different from what I am now, to be honest, to an extent. I was just drawing my Warlord comics and notebooks, which, by the way, I will be doing more short videos of the other notebooks that I did of Warlord. So stay tuned for that. When I was a freshman in high school, I didn't really talk to much people. Like, I've always been pretty introverted and kept to myself. And then one day I was just talking with other classmates. During a down period and whatnot. Mostly talking about basketball and basketball cards. I think somebody had brought in a binder with basketball cards, and that's how the conversation started, because at the time I also was collecting basketball cards. Back when sports trading cards were like a big thing. So I actually made friends with those classmates that I was talking with. And it turns out that one of them was actually a comic book fan. And not only was he a comic book fan, but he said he was an artist as well, that he liked to draw and whatnot. Which was pretty cool, because usually I was the only kid in class that was interested in illustrating. So like the next day, that same group of like 3 4 classmates and myself were talking, waiting for a class to start, and this one um classmate in particular that had said that he was an artist and was a comic book fan as well, he brought some of his sketches just to like kind of show them off. And he was showing like these kind of xenomorph sketches, like from the Alien movies, that actually looked really cool, or at least I thought they looked really cool. And he was very proud of himself for those illustrations. And well, he should have been proud of those illustrations. The only problem was that after he showed off his illustrations, like I took out my sketchbook and I just showed it off, just to like, not to compete with the guy or anything, but because the guy already knew that I was also into illustrating and that I also like comics. And I said, hey, want to check out my sketchbook also? So he had kind of like a smug little smile, and he was like, yeah, sure, let me see your sketchbook. And when I showed off my sketchbook with all my original characters, I'm pretty much essentially a universe that I have created of characters based around Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord. Like my friends and classmates that were there were actually like super impressed that I had put so much dedication to and thought to like the sketch and the stories and whatnot. And it was the first time really that I had shown my artwork in school to anyone aside from like my best friends when in middle school, when I was in a different school. And that kid that did the xenomorph sketches, he was the only one that stayed silent while looking at my sketchbook. So I was just thinking to myself, like, man, he must probably really hate my sketches or my artwork. But I wasn't really letting it get to me. And then out of nowhere, he rips out his own sketches out of his notebook. He tears them up and throws them into the trash bin in the classroom. And we're all looking at him in shock. And he just like walks out of the classroom, and as he's walking away, and I still remember to this day because it was just so shocking to me. Like, he just, without even turning back, he just says, I quit, I'm not drawing anymore. Like, just like that. Like, that actually made me kind of not want to draw myself for a long while after he did that, because it's like, shit, man. You saw somebody just quit, say they quit drawing after they see your art. How else are you supposed to react to something like that? It kind of messed with my head a little bit, to be honest. And true to form, he never picked up a pencil to sketch at all, at least not that I knew of anyway. And our quote unquote friendship kind of got really strained after that. Like, he would barely talk to me Like when we would all hang out, he would mostly try to avoid me as well. You know, it took me a long time to just realize the truth, in a sense that, again, doing something like that talks a lot more about the person than it does about you. I don't know what circumstances that kid was going through at the time. Like, who knows what kind of sucky situation he was in that he had to, like, take it out on somebody else in the way he did. Which again just goes to show you never really know where it's going to come from, and you never really know which is the one that's going to actually mess with your mind. So you have to stay vigilant and be able to distinguish that destructive criticism and the constructive criticism. Because yes, there are people that wants to put you down, there's also people that genuinely want to help you as well. You know, and the mileage may vary. Some of them may be very much the tough love kind of person that won't sugarcoat anything. And there are others that are a little more diplomatic and want to help you in different ways. I like to think that I'm the more diplomatic type that likes to help in any way I can. Especially if somebody approaches me asking for help. Practice makes purpose. At least in my experience anyway, that's what's helped me with my own artwork. And that helps make me push myself forward more and more. Because I am, at least art-wise, I am not talented enough to make it on talent alone. In my opinion anyway, I have to work at it. And I have to work hard at it. Even though sometimes it probably doesn't look that way based on the webcomic itself sometimes. That looks that it's like very rushed, and a lot of times it's because it is. Because again, I rather it be finished than perfect, because I do have a story to tell, and it's taken me so long to do this comic. So if there's any kind of message that you can take from this live stream, you know, like I said, just do what's most comfortable for you. Put yourself out there, accept the constructive criticism, and apply it where you believe needs to be applied the most. And take the destructive criticism and don't let it bother you. You know, just take it for what it is and keep pushing forward, because at the end, that's the only thing you can do, really. Just keep pushing forward. let's kind of try to again give depth to the details and whatnot. And like I said, like it took me a long while to realize, like, hey, you never know what kind of situation another person is that they would take a moment out of their time to just be almost spiteful to you. You know, so again, when you're confronted with either destructive criticism, a negative person, someone mean or a bully on the internet or whatnot, before you reply or before you take it to heart, take a deep breath, breathe, think about how sucky it must be for that person that they have to actually try to put another person down, probably to make themselves feel better about themselves. Feel bad for them if you want to feel bad for them, then pay no more attention to it and just keep moving on, man. Because life is not going to wait for you. You're going to have to keep moving forward. Because life is unforgiving that way. You just have to keep moving forward no matter what. Because at the end of the day, that person isn't going to be illustrating for you. That person isn't going to be writing for you. That person isn't responsible for your own dedication to what you're doing. You know, don't let people live rent-free in your mind, especially when it comes to something creative that you are trying to accomplish. You know, just keep creating with purpose, keep creating towards your goals, whatever they may be. You know, and if you need to hear something like "I believe in you" from someone today, then hey, whoever you are, I don't know you, but I believe in you. As the Robbie Draco Rosa song says, sin conocerte voy a ti. I don't know you, but I'm rooting for you. It's been a while since I had like a more reflective, introspective kind of live stream like this. This is fun. Just kind of move that there. Where do you go? I'm trying to scale it, but it's a bit tough. You know what? Cancel. That's good enough. Just kind of move a little bit. Okay, that's better right there. How's it looking? Yeah, that's fine. Kind of get the overall. Oh, there you go. Of course. Let's see now. It's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, that's fine like that. Sometimes you have to kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. I think this came out quite nicely. Let me just go ahead and start. I'm probably going to be relettering a lot of this also. That's just my coloring guide for the hair and whatnot. Just kind of want to see how everything looks. All right. Let's see. Let me go back to 1. Check something real quick. Yeah, I guess the darker tone, just to keep it more consistent. You know, from what I'm seeing here is better. Yeah, I feel this is very. This is a lot better. Let me bring the opacity down a little bit because it's a little too dark for my taste. Okay, that's a lot better right there. Let me do the same here if I did it before. Kind of lower that opacity because it's, as my professors would say, the shadows and lighting and whatnot is a little bit too on the nose. Like, it's not very subtle. That, at least in my opinion, that looks a lot better now. I just noticed I didn't color in that mirror. Let me do that real quick, actually. Just kind of give it a quick coloring here. Let me make that brush size a little smaller. It's probably a little too small now. Here we go. How long has this stream been going on for? About an hour and a half, pretty much. I actually have a video also going up a little bit later, hopefully before I leave to my doctor appointment. The return of Warlord Wednesdays. I'm gonna do it like kind of like the whole season format, like with everything else that I've been doing, which I know I have to catch up with, but again, a lot of like real life stuff has gotten in the way. I have to keep doing my personal art podcast and the Enter the Danger Zone videos. It's not like I don't have ideas and I don't have some stuff already recorded. Things have been crazy. I really haven't had the time to edit it, really. And pretty soon I am going to start recording video segments for the premiere next year of another 100 Days of Making Comics challenge as well. So that's going to start soon. Last year I did it in fall all the way into winter. This year I'm thinking about doing it towards the end of summer or in the middle of the summer going into fall. Let me just kind of figure out what is what. Let me just kind of make a little bit less. There we go. There we go. So I don't want it to be too dark either. I just want it just enough to be able to differentiate things. There you go. So that can look good in grayscale afterwards. Let's go ahead and save that one. Let me kind of give a quick look at how page 3 looks like. How does it look like without the bells and whistles and colors? Where is? Here we go. Of course, take off the I guess I can put some more detail, like in the hair and in some of the background as well. So let's go ahead and do that. You know, again, just have fun with it. All right. Here we go. And again, there is a purpose behind all this, which is I'm most likely going to be printing this in black and white first. Like the rest of the pages, I'm probably not even going to bother coloring just yet. I'm just going to like go straight into tones. because I am going to be publishing this as a manga style volume, which is what the majority of my readers want anyway. Like, I have put it up to a vote, and that was pretty much the winning vote. People really want this, kind of like in a manga volume, especially since the story is so overarching. It's more of a saga than anything else. Lettering is something that I'm also trying to improve as well. Lettering is so important and sometimes so underrated. I actually have the how-to letter book from Nate Piekos of Glambot fame. Like, I haven't really read through it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. Especially when I start working more and more on the Truthful Comics edition of Warlord and other titles as well. This is actually one of my favorite pages of the prologue. I'm aiming to do like maybe 5 chapters or 6 in this first volume. It's not necessarily going to be like a reboot of the comic, but it's not going to be like 100% faithful either, because I do want to fix up some things that I think deserves to be fixed up along the way as well. And don't worry, I'm not going to go all George Lucas on it either. I just want to fix some story elements, like not making the chapters as long as the chapters were originally on the webcomic, which is something that I've really been focusing on doing here in book 2 of the webcomic, of trying to keep the grand majority of the run to be 22 pages, because a lot of the chapters just kept overrunning in book 1, and some chapters were like 30 plus pages long or 40 plus pages long, and they weren't like even like special edition kind of, anniversary chapter or something like that, or anything big happening. Just random chapter ended up being longer than it should have been, just because I didn't want to cut out certain story elements to it, which again, create with purpose. If it doesn't serve much purpose to the story, just cut it out. And that's essentially what I'm going to do. A lot of those chapters that were basically double chapters, I'm going to trim it down to just one 22-page chapter and split those chapters into 2 parts if necessary. like I've said before in other live streams, like consider the Truthful Comics edition printed versions of Warlord and all the other comics that I'm going to redo. They're not a reboot. They're going to be kind of sort of in the same vein as something like the rebuild of Evangelion series of movies. Except that's not going to be so extremely different as it was in the third and fourth movies. But it's going to be kind of like that same style and philosophy of, you know, kind of getting to the point of the story and making some elements a little clearer and not drag on parts that really didn't need to be dragged on as long as it did. As I said, that's all part of growing up and part of wanting to keep growing. So, like that initial storyline that was 4 chapters long is probably going to be 6 chapters long. 7, including the prologue. Which I was kind of tempted to do more pages for it, but again, I have to do this story with purpose. You know, I can't lose myself in the story like that, because then, you know, I risk not, like I said, not being able to give the best of myself that I can do, that I know that I can do. There we go. Okay, that's looking a lot nicer already, in my opinion. Let me just put some details in Fred's shirt, of course. To anyone that listens to this, I really do appreciate taking the time, whenever it may be, to at least listen to these rants and rambles that I go on sometimes here. This channel is built on all you guys. Crazy to think that by this time last year, I was struggling to get 70 subscribers and just about to hit 20,000 lifetime views on the channel. Now I'm approaching 300 subscribers, and I'm really close to actually having 100,000 lifetime views, which is mind-blowing. I really do appreciate you all. This little channel that could. What am I doing? Don't get too emotional that it affects what you're doing, man. There you go. Practice makes purpose. And remember that. That and Lance Danger. Live streaming is so much fun. I wish I would have done live streaming a lot sooner, but that's the benefit of like having your own place now, because before it was roommates and the neighbors themselves also could be very noisy and nosy, so there was always interruptions. That's why I also had to stop making videos at one point. Aside from being burnt out, there just wasn't a good time to do them because neighbors would be too noisy. Neighbors be noisy. Am I right? I think that's good enough for page 3. Let me go ahead and start making the colors and whatnot visible again. Yeah, it can be a tad bit lighter, especially now that I added more detail. Yeah, that's about right. Maybe one day I'll like stream how I do a page from beginning to end. Like here, I know there are some things I could definitely fix up with the lettering. So this is probably the last time you'll see the lettering as it is. Go ahead and save there. Let me take a quick look at how page 4 looks like. For those wondering, I have up to page 7 completely illustrated. Let's see. I don't think this one necessarily needs too much toning, to be honest. If anything, I could make some things a little bit lighter. Because it's going to be looking a little too dark. There you go. Yeah, I think I can pretty much leave this one as it is, especially after adjusting the opacity on it. This one, the lettering isn't too bad, I guess, on this page. Go ahead and see what's the next page look like. Page 5, of course, one of the more recent. Again, I'm considering not coloring it at all. So I may just color it just so I can have like that. Hey, yeah, saludo Humberto. Humberto Art Comics. If you haven't visited his YouTube channel, you can definitely go ahead and check it out. He has a lot of good artwork there too. Just if you're seeing this on the replay, you can just click on his comment to go to his YouTube page, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I'll just leave a link to his YouTube page so you can check out his fun artwork. So yeah, I'm working here on Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord. Just sprucing up some pages. Let's see now. So I got basically all the shading, I guess, that I could do on this page. Although I could do some more actually. So let me do that real quick. You know, to keep it consistent with the other pages. Let's go ahead and change the angle to that one. Let's go ahead and work on here. Clip Studio Paint really is an outstanding illustration program. Like every generation after me has it so much easier to make comics and all that in terms of technology and tools that are made available to everyone. Like it's an amazing time to create your own comics nowadays. It always has been really an amazing times to make independent comics, but it's so exciting, all the possibilities now with technology and the internet. Where even someone like me can have something of a public. Let's go ahead with this one here. Just adjust this a little bit. There we go. Again, doing these live streams, just talking like this, are so much fun. I wish I would have had the ability to do them from before, but I can't complain completely with how things have turned out to be this past year that I've been able to actually live stream and show you guys, you know, not just the process of how I do things, but to just kind of get into seeing my whole mentality to how I approach things and keeping you all up to speed on the things I'm working on. Let's work on the detail here. Again, practice makes purpose. And I think I'm going to call it a stream after I finish the details on this page. So I've been going on for like almost 2 hours now, I think. Yeah, just about 2 hours. And I have to get my rest as well before I go to the doctor's today to have my elbow checked out. I know, riveting content. If anything, I'll have more of an update on that, I guess, later on this afternoon's live stream. Once again, I will be with Chago Rodriguez this afternoon on my channel talking with JL Aviles, JL Aviles, the creator of the Puerto Rican comic book Omega. Also part of a comic book conglomerate, I guess, kind of like an attempt to do Image comic studio kind of things called Cosmos Comics as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun this afternoon. Let's see how this is looking. I know there is one more part that I would like to get before going out. Look, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay down the tones for all the rest of the pages that I have done, and then I'll worry about coloring them. I might actually finish illustrating it and toning the whole prologue and then coloring it at the end. Once again, that's Hunter coming around. I think he wants me to go to bed as well. I just want to do this one little corner here and I'll be done for tonight. Alright. There we go. Let me fix the angle on this so I can go more or less with the line art itself. Again, you want to have a little bit of consistency there. And there you have it. Right. Let me go ahead and save this. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and finish it here. Thank you everyone so much for indulging me on these live streams. Keep an eye out for the Warlord Wednesday video that I'm going to be uploading a little bit later in the morning. Once again this afternoon, the live stream with Chago Rodriguez, we kind of unofficially call those live streams Boricuas contra Todos. And of course, I'll have more YouTube shorts throughout the day as well as posting stuff on my TikTok and Instagram, which I'm kind of starting to get into the habit of using again, and of course Facebook and what have you. Anyway, thank you all so much for having me. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for giving me a chance to try to entertain you and hopefully inspire you. And I will catch you all later today. See